am in my transparent era.
Carlos King, the creator and executive producer of Love and Marriage, Huntsville, recently shared some shocking news in an interview. He hinted that the show might be nearing its end. The reason behind this possible decision, as Carlos explained, was a mix of issues, including betrayal, emotional exhaustion, and tensions behind the scenes. The show, which had once been a hit, had become increasingly difficult to manage, and Carlos found himself at a crossroads about whether it was worth continuing. Carlos didn't hold back when discussing the challenges that made Love and Marriage, Huntsville harder to handle. He revealed that the show had turned into something chaotic and unmanageable, not in a dramatic, entertaining way, but in a way that felt overwhelming. During a live session on Instagram, Carlos admitted that he was starting to question if the energy surrounding the show was worth the effort anymore.
We have to work harder to get what we deserve, right? And I was such a huge part of that, along with other producers and everybody else involved too. But I moved to Atlanta to do that show because I was invested in making it #1.
He wasn't just venting as a frustrated producer. This was a warning that the issues behind the scenes had reached their breaking point. One of the main challenges was the cast itself. Carlos explained how many of the cast members no longer wanted to work together. Filming had become a struggle, with people walking off set, interrupting each other during group scenes, or even refusing to be in the same room. What should have been routine for a reality show filming basic scenes had turned into a logistical nightmare. It wasn't just drama, it was emotional exhaustion.
And I wanted to make sure that no one is misled by this information. First of all, my name is Maurice Jefferson Scott, Sr. And if you're gonna do research on a Maurice Scott, make sure that you're researching the right person.
The cast had been repeatedly forced to relive painful moments on camera, and it started taking its toll. The lack of boundaries between their on-screen personas and real lives made things even harder, as the emotional weight of the show was seeping into their personal lives. As a producer, Carlos found it draining to try to extract storylines from people who were clearly burnt out. He made it clear that he wasn't going to beg grown adults to talk to each other, which only added to the pressure. In addition to the cast drama, one of the main sources of tension was the relationship between Melody and Martell Holt. When the show first began, their complicated marriage and cheating scandal were the main draw. Their messy divorce was a key storyline that captivated audiences. However, over time, the constant conflict between them began to sour the entire show. By the end of the series, communication between the couple had completely broken down, with even the most basic co-parenting scenes being filled with tension and awkwardness. Carlos revealed that trying to coordinate their scenes was a struggle, as neither of them wanted to be around each other. For a show that relied heavily on their dynamic, this was a huge blow.
I'm gonna keep it all the way real on this podcast today because I am pissed. Robin admitting that she hid her story from the world on the show that pays you is a slap in the face to everyone involved, including the audience. And the fact that you have the audacity to go on your podcast to reveal this, we spent this entire half-assed season with these made-up storylines about Chris Bassett. And yes, I'm gonna say made up because I allegedly was told that a few of the housewives had a meeting before filming about what the storyline was going to be, and that this Chris Bassett stuff was part of that conversation. I've always said there was something off about this season, and now I know what it is. None of y'all are living your real lives.
Their personal drama didn't only affect them, it started to divide the rest of the cast. Friends within the group were forced to pick sides, turning group scenes into battlegrounds. Melody was often isolated, and Martell's behavior was criticized by many. The toxic atmosphere created by their ongoing hostility began to poison the entire show. Rather than seeing new developments or progress in storylines, the cast found themselves stuck in the same unresolved arguments over and over again. Carlos admitted that he struggled with how to handle the situation. He wanted to preserve the authenticity of their story but also understood that the constant conflict was eroding the foundation of the show. What once attracted viewers now pushed the cast further away. But the issues didn't stop with Melody and Martell. The show, which once had a tight-knit group of people, was becoming increasingly divided.
I saw that to say, is what you said about me. I am frugal. But for me to spend a Q coin, fly 9 hours, to go out the country, I'm there because I love you.
Kimmy and Maurice Scott tried to be the voice of reason. They positioned themselves as peacemakers, always trying to smooth things over and bring calm to the chaos. However, in a group filled with unresolved grudges and intense rivalries, their attempts to stay neutral backfired. Instead of earning respect for their efforts to mediate, both Kimmy and Maurice were pulled into the drama. Maurice was seen as being too loyal to Martell, and Kimmy's calm demeanor was often misunderstood as fake or passive. Their role as stabilizers began to affect their own storyline, as fans began questioning their marriage and relationship dynamics. Drama that had nothing to do with them soon became their problem too. Carlos also pointed out that this situation started to wear down Kimmy, especially since she was dealing with health issues in her personal life. She showed up to film, but the negative energy of the group was clearly taking a toll on her. Even scenes that were supposed to show unity or growth quickly spiraled out of control. It wasn't just the cast members who were affected, even those working behind the scenes were starting to go rogue. Carlos explained that there were producers who weren't acting with integrity. Some producers, he said, were showing favoritism, planting ideas, and even working against him. This divide between him and certain members of the production team made everything more difficult. Carlos had always emphasized the importance of authenticity, wanting the storylines to unfold naturally. However, as the situation became more chaotic, some producers seemed more interested in stirring the pot for the sake of drama. Their desire to create conflict for the sake of good footage, even at the expense of the cast's real lives, left Carlos feeling cornered. What had once been a show he was proud of, showcasing Black excellence and real-life struggles, had turned into something entirely different. To make matters worse, higher-ups in the production team began to interfere in ways that created even more tension. They pressured Carlos to feature certain cast members more or protect others from negative attention. This kind of manipulation only deepened the divisions within the team. Carlos admitted that, in many ways, the show had become unrecognizable to him. When you have people in your own house working against you, it's hard to keep the lights on, he said, reflecting on how the growing mistrust made every decision harder. The final blow, however, came from someone within the cast, a person Carlos had trusted, who turned out to be actively working against him. This individual had been leaking information, manipulating storylines, and using the show to further their own personal agenda. They not only helped fuel the drama but also worked to divide the cast by telling different versions of the same story to different people. This betrayal, Carlos said, was one of the hardest moments of his career, as it undermined everything he had built. The trust he had in this person was shattered, and he knew that he could no longer work with someone who was actively trying to sabotage him. The drama surrounding the show wasn't just internal, it was spilling into public perception. Every moment on camera became a PR battle, with fans and media constantly judging the cast. If someone cried, it was labeled as fake. If someone stayed silent, they were accused of hiding something. The constant scrutiny made it difficult for the cast to be vulnerable, and Carlos admitted that the pressure had become toxic for everyone involved. Ultimately, Carlos realized that love and marriage, Huntsville, had taken a mental and emotional toll on him. What had once been a fun and meaningful project had turned into a survival game. He no longer felt in control of the show's direction. The very thing that had made the show great, its celebration of Black excellence, marriage, and personal growth, had turned into a battleground filled with tension, betrayal, and constant damage control. Carlos knew he had to make a choice. Walking away from the show wasn't about giving up, it was about preserving the integrity of the love and marriage brand and protecting himself. As he put it, "I'm not going to lose myself for a show I love. I love what I created, but I love me more." Fans were divided in their reactions, but many supported his decision, acknowledging the toll the show had taken on him. While Carlos hasn't officially confirmed the end of the show, fans are already speculating about its future. Some believe it could be a soft reboot, changing the format, bringing in new faces, and possibly starting fresh. Others think Carlos may be ready to walk away entirely and pursue something new. Whatever happens, one thing is clear: Carlos will continue to move forward on his own terms. Fans now wait to see what comes next, wondering if this truly marks the end or just a new chapter. As we come to the end of this journey with Love and Marriage, Huntsville, the big question on everyone's mind is whether this marks the end of the show or if it's just a pause before something new takes shape. Carlos King's recent revelations have left fans with mixed emotions, and it's clear that whatever happens next, it will be on his terms. He's always been about authenticity, and that's something that's worth preserving, whether through a revamped Love and Marriage or by starting a new chapter entirely. We may not know what the future holds, but we do know one thing for sure: whatever he decides to do next, he's going to do it on his own terms. And for someone who built an empire on reality TV, that's a powerful move. As fans, we may be left wondering what this means for the future of Love and Marriage, Huntsville, but we should also remember that the show was never just about the drama. It was about real people, real stories, and real emotions. Carlos King gave us a window into those lives, and for that, we can be grateful. He may be stepping back, but this isn't the last time we'll hear from him. He's got more stories to tell, and with his proven ability to create compelling television, there's no doubt that his next move will be just as impactful as the last. So, what do you think? Is this really the end of Love and Marriage, Huntsville? Or is Carlos preparing for a fresh start? Will the show return with a new direction? Or is Carlos ready to move on to bigger and better things? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Whatever happens, one thing's for sure: Carlos King's journey in the world of reality TV is far from over.